All right, good morning, boys and girls. My name is Jack. This is the Appalachian Farm Hand Channel. It is a cold, cold day out here on the property, but I am absolutely juiced because I got a treat back here on this trailer. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to jump right into everything. I'm going to get this unloaded so we can get our hands on it and get to going through it. All right, y'all. So before we start jumping into this, I had a giant thermos of coffee this morning, and it is not working well with my ADHD right now. So you're gonna have to bear with me. But this right here is the DR Power Equipment brush cutter, and it is an absolute animal. And listen, there's a lot of things that I am, but one thing that I am not is somebody who's gonna give grace where grace is not due. They are not paying me. They are not lending me this tool. I get nothing out of this. My uncle so graciously allowed me to use this. Big shout out to Jeff. And so this is gonna be an honest, straight to the point review of this thing. Later on, once we get done with this run through of it, we're gonna get to doing some works. I got some shots yesterday of us running through this field and just tearing it up, and it looks great. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and start jumping right into everything. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start jumping into the positives about this thing. I got the cover pulled off the deck so I can really just dive into everything and get to moving. The first thing that I want to touch on is that this is a 20 horsepower V-twin Briggs & Stratton engine, and this thing is a helicopter. It's got plenty of power. I did everything that I could yesterday to bog this thing down, and it just would not. So that's the first big thing for me, is that it has enough power to do anything that they, one, say it will, and two, things that they tell you not to do. Because we put it through its paces yesterday. So that's the first thing for me. All right, so the second big thing that I really liked about this thing is, instead of just being mounted to the front of this, it's actually on a center post down here that you can see. And it allows it to act as a gimbal. And so the deck will actually move independent from the power head, so that when you're moving across the ground, it'll go with the contour of the ground and keep mowing flush with the ground, rather than where if it was mounted, it would go up and over the edge and then just stay stiff. So that's really, really cool. And we put it through its tests yesterday, and it'll drop pretty well. Another huge thing that I really like about this is that you have steering brakes. And so when you're driving and you're mowing and you're running through brush, it allows you to really have more control over it, even though you can steer it without using them. And it's fairly easy to steer it without using them. It makes everything so much easier. So that was another thing. And while we're here, I'm gonna go ahead and do the next one with it. The controls are all super, I don't want to say generic, but they're basic, and it makes it really easy to use. And I feel like a lot of times when you end up in a walk behind implement, they try to throw too many things in the dashboard, and you end up in a situation where you're hitting buttons you don't want to, or things are small to where you can't really operate in a really efficient way. I mean, this PTO is like a normal tractor PTO, so that's pretty cool. I know that I forgot this the last time that I was up here, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in here as well. It's got a big, beefy push-down bar in the front, and so you can actually get into some pretty thick stuff and push it over, and it allows you to get into taller brush without it folding back over onto the head or the power head and on top of the deck and getting sucked up underneath the cover and whatnot. Next, and something that I haven't quite gotten into, and nor has my uncle, but everything on this is located in a easily accessible area. So, gas is right here, and if you miss, it just goes straight down below it, instead of getting dumped all over the engine, and then you end up in a smoking situation. oil filter is right on the side. You know, I feel like a lot of times that you get into stuff, especially, well, more so on tractors, you're having to climb up underneath it and do stuff like that just in order to change the oil. And so the filter's in a really easily accessible area, as well as where you'll be filling it. That's huge for me. All right, so with this, there are some negatives, so we're going to go ahead and jump into them. Again, I'm not going to give grace where grace is not due. There are some things that are negative about this, but before I get into them, I want to go ahead and state that the positive massively outweigh the negatives. So let's go ahead and jump into my negatives. All right, so I figured that we would just stay uniform, and I would start up here in the front. So the biggest thing for me that is a negative and a downfall for this thing is that it really takes two people to change this belt off of here to get the deck off. When this implement came, it had that mulcher up there that was mounted on it. And so it took me and my uncle everything that we had to get this belt off and then to get this belt back on. The mulcher itself was not that difficult, more so that we had put the implement, or we had put the brush cutter on incorrectly, and we needed to go back and redo it. It took everything that we had to do this. So that's a big negative for me. All right, I'm just going to keep moving around. So the next thing for me is the tires. So if I were to put new rubber on this thing, I'd put a more aggressive agricultural tire on this. It comes with a pretty aggressive turf tire for like maintained turf, but if you're running through thick stuff or briars or whatever it is, these tend to slip a little bit, and I wonder if it's more of like a safety thing so that you're not, running over stuff that you're not intending to. But when you go to turn, when you're in third gear or you're running through tall brush that's sort of held in place by the deck up here, it becomes a little bit more difficult to turn or to get the power to the ground when you're going through that heavy stuff. So that's my next negative. All right, so the next thing is, it's not so much of a negative, it's more so of two inconveniences up here. So the gear shifter doesn't have any notches, and so you don't really ever know what gear you're in. And so when you're first starting out, that's pretty annoying. But once you get going and you get to learning and you start operating the thing for a little while, it gets pretty easy to figure out. My next thing up here is this traction drive lever, which it's a safety feature. I understand when you let go that the machine needs to stop in case you've fallen down so you don't injure yourself or injure other people. I get it. But when you release this thing, this machine stops. And so if you're not ready for it, you're running straight into this. And I see that sort of as being dangerous. But it's more so just really inconvenient and kind of annoying. So that's going to be my next negative. All right, so my last negative is going to be the most glaring one for me. So I'm a big grip it and rip it kind of guy, which I know that my mother and my grandmother seeing this they're not gonna appreciate that one, but I really like to just get stuff and just go. But this, it's got so many safety features, and I get it, you gotta have them, but they become sort of a nuisance at some point. So we spent probably 45 minutes to an hour yesterday trying to get this thing up and operating. There are a bunch of different safety mechanisms within this machine that, one, make it safe, but two, make it really annoying. So as I said, that wood chipper up there was on the front of this when we first got here. And so in order to get it off, we had to dismount it, all that. It was fine. And that was a whole process, but it was fine. But it comes with a safety key right here to keep the machine operating when the PTO is on, but you're not holding down the safety stop handle up there. And so you have to actually switch two wires that are up underneath this frame right here. Let's see if I can get a shot of it right now, actually, while we're talking about it. Come on. Can you see them? Yes, right there. Those two. You have to flip those to complete the circuit so that this keeps the PTO running. You have to crawl underneath the machine to do that. why couldn't you just throw it up on the side or throw it up here? Like, it's just stuff like that that doesn't make any sense. The next thing for me is that there is, I don't actually know what exactly it is, but I think that it's a transmission. I think that it's a transmission something or another, but it is right there. And it's not a good spot, because when you're running through tall grass or brush or whatever, you got stuff coming up here, and just look how easy this thing pops off. And if you do that, the machine cuts off. And so you got to stop, or it won't start, or whatever the situation happens to be. It'll just about drive you nuts. And so that's a big negative for me. The safety features in this thing, granted, they're there to keep you safe, but they could just be put in more accessible, more just, I don't even know. They just make no sense. They really just don't make any sense at all. So those are going to be my negatives. All of them are things that I'm sure that will be fixed on the next generation of this thing, just because they don't make any sense, and they're going to be the most glaring things for any operator. But all right, so those are going to be my negatives for this thing. As I said before, the positives heavily outweigh the negatives, but overall, this thing is awesome. I'm just going to say that outright. This thing is awesome. It's an absolute animal. I could not get it to bog down yesterday, and I don't have any limits. Me and my Uncle Jeff were just running this thing and running it ragged, and it would just not die down. So this thing is an animal. I know there's negatives, but there's a lot of positives to it. So with that, if you're looking into getting one of these DR Power Equipment brush cutters, I would say absolutely do it. This thing is awesome. I would highly recommend that you go and get one. So with that being said, let's get into operating this thing. All right, so how about we get this old boy started here? So it needs to be in neutral, right? You don't have to start down the operation presence thing, whatever this lever is called. It's pretty much a kill switch. But your PTO has to be off. It starts a lot easier if you have the choke on, just because it's 25 degrees right now. When you're starting it, you got your auxiliary power switch is the first notch. Then you got your running position, right? And then just starting it's going right past that. And what I found is that this thing, if you don't get the throttle down right afterwards, it just screams. It runs wide open. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to switch it all the way down to low throttle. And obviously, you just flip it off. So that's starting it. I think after this, I'm gonna try to get into operation, but it's a little bit difficult considering I left all of my camera mounts in Kellyanne's car, and she happens to be in Detroit, so that's not helping me out at all. So I'm gonna see how well I can get this done. If I can't get it done very well, then that sucks. So all right, let's get that working. All right, guys, so I've decided that this thing is just going to be way too difficult to try to run and explain what I'm doing while I'm running it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get to work. So the plan for today is that Jeff and I already came out here yesterday, and I didn't want to give a review on this thing without having operated it for a pretty substantial amount of time. So we worked from probably about 9:30 yesterday until, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon running this thing. And we got a big chunk of this upper field knocked out, and then we also got a section that we can hunt down in the bottom land, cleared out from the woods all the way over to the river. And then we've been working around this black walnut tree that's out in the middle of the field, and I'm just gonna keep on knocking that down. So unfortunately, I forgot my smaller gas can, so I've got a 5-gallon tank of gas that I've got to carry down there. But we're gonna run this thing, hop the stream, get down there in the bottom, and start just knocking this stuff out. All right, y'all, so my uncle's still back here knocking out the rest of this, but we got the edges of the field all pushed back, as you can see. I try to get a time lapse that cut off in the middle of it because the battery died on the GoPro, but yeah. But, all right, so we got this all fixed up. I think what we're gonna do from here is we're gonna go get some, we're gonna eat some lunch, and then we're gonna head down to the lower field, and we're gonna start working down there. I'm not sure how much we're actually gonna get done. I think we probably got about 4.5 more hours out here on the property, so I think we'll be able to knock a pretty good chunk out of the lower field. So yeah, so this is looking pretty good. I'll try to get a before and after shot thrown in here. Also, big shout out to my grandma for for the personal protective equipment. She saw me getting smacked in the face by all the stuff that was running on the chainsaw, so she got me the helmet with the face visor and the ear protection, which is just absolutely enormous. So I've been using it out here. Thing's awesome. I'll try to post a link to it down in the description if you guys are looking for any of the stuff. If not, I don't really care. I get nothing out of posting that. So all right, so let's go ahead and just keep on rolling. So I'm working my way down to the other side of the lower field where Jeff has already started working. I kind of had to set everything up to start going that way, but we're gonna make it happen. That DR brush cutter is an absolute animal. He's just been eating. He cut this path through here too, so we can navigate a lot easier. But yeah, all right. I can get you guys some before shots and then get you some after shots, and we'll just keep working. That's all we're doing. We're just gonna keep on working. And this is a long, long walk. Good Lord have mercy. Oh my gracious. All right, so I'm finally down here. It took a minute, but I'm here. But Jeff's been putting in work back here. He's got a pretty good swath cut through here. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by cutting a path, or we started by cutting a path from the edge of the woods straight over to the river. And then of course we worked our way down the field just to get that path cut through. And then we're just gonna keep on working and just try to make this area that's cut as big as we possibly can. So I'm gonna get a before and an after of this, and then we'll just keep working, really. As I said before, that's all it's about. Just gotta keep working, you know. So, all right, I will catch up with y'all, I guess, when all the work's done, because I don't really want to do another check-in, honestly, because I'm having to stop what I'm doing. So, all right, I'll see y'all then. right, y'all, so it's finally the end of the day. Gracious. Sorry, I've been breathing in dust this whole day, but we've been working. Jeff's still cutting right now. We're about to head out of here. But as you can see, I mean, we cut all the way from the pecan tree and all the way to the river over there. So that's gonna be it for me for today, but I'll be back out here tomorrow. All right, y'all, so we're finally down here. We got the DR back behind me, but as you can see, we got this area all the way through here cut out to the trees, and then through here cut out to the river. And we started making a little section through here, but then the day started coming to an end and we need to get out. So on my way in here, broke the leg off my tripod. And so filming is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think that we'll be fine at this point. I'm going to get to working and just go ahead and start filming. And it should just carry us all the way out to the end of the day, and unless something really interesting happens. So I think at some point in time, I'm going to take a break, walk back up the hill, grab the jug and a sandwich, and carry the gas back down here. And then hopefully I'll just be able to run out of here with an empty tank of gas, because I really don't feel like carrying anything else out here. So, all right, I'm gonna quit rambling. I'm gonna hop to it and we'll get working and knocking this stuff out of here. All right, so as I said before, this thing is an absolute animal. I've been only been out here for about 30 minutes, and I've gotten all of this cleared out from probably yeah, I don't know how you're gonna even see. Let's see here, right there. Hold on, let me see. There. No, that's definitely, well, maybe it is. That'd be the whole, so that tree right there. Gracious. So we've cleared from about that tree all the way over to there, right, in about 30 minutes. So I think my goal here is I'm going to cut flat with this straight over to the trees. I see this is probably taking about another 30 minutes. And then after that, I'm gonna cut flat there and try to get just a straight brick here. So I think what my plan is eventually is I'm gonna throw a stand up in this little black walnut thick deal thing, whatever's going on here. And then be able to hunt this line here, and then whatever's coming off the game trail that's right through there. So, all right, I guess we'll just keep on going. Had to shed a layer already, you know, got a little sweat going, fogging up my glasses, all of that. But dude, this is so much better than using my brush cutter, so I'm not complaining at all. All right, let's get back to work. All right, y'all, so at this point, I've been out here for about 4.5 hours, and it's gone from a light misting to a pretty good drizzle, and I know it's only gonna get worse, so I'm gonna start moving out of here. I've gotten a pretty decent amount of work done here. I'll get a before and after shot thrown up here. But as for this DR Pro XL30 brush mower, I would say if you are looking at buying one of these things, I would absolutely say it's a safe bet. I've got about, I don't know, 13 hours of, 11 hours of seat time behind this thing. And man, it is just an absolute animal. If you, whatever you can think of, I have tried doing it with this thing, and you know, I couldn't get the thing to quit. I couldn't get it to shut off. I couldn't get it to flip over. And again, I've tried everything that they told me not to do when picking it up at the dealership. So I'm gonna get this back to my uncle. It will be back out here at some point in time, but for today, I have to get off the property because as I'm speaking, it's actually starting to rain harder. So guys, that's gonna be it from me here on the Appalachian Farmhand channel. If you aren't yet, please go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share this video. I don't know what the bell notification does, but go ahead and do all that good stuff. So I'm gonna get out of here. Guys, I hope you have a great day, and come back and join me again here sometime after this. That closing was terrible, but I'm gonna edit it out. Please come back, please. Please come back again and join me here. Please come back and join me again sometime. Boom.